Turkey today shot down a drone on its border with Syria. It is the first shoot down of any aircraft in the region since Russia entered the conflict. The Pentagon says the drone is Russian. The Russians say it's not. And Palestinians desecrated a Jewish holy site today. They set it afire amid a wave of new violence in the West Bank and Gaza. 3 Palestinians were killed, including one posing as a journalist, who then stabbed and wounded an Israeli soldier before he was shot dead. Joining us tonight, former ambassador to the United Nations, now senior fellow with the American Enterprise Institute, John Bolton. John, good to have you with us. Let's start first with the drone. How significant is it that Turkey decided to shoot that down?
Well, this is a direct military contact between a NATO member, that is to say one of our allies, and Russian military equipment. And I don't doubt the Turks' story that it's a Russian drone. I think that demonstrates just what it means to have a Russian air base in Latakia, Syria now, and I think it's an augury of things to come. I have to say I'm surprised at the Turks doing this, but good for them.
Well, shooting down drones is one thing. To get involved in aerial combat with arguably the second most sophisticated air force in the world is quite another, even for Turkey, as advanced a military and significant a military as it possesses, is it not?
Well, I think that the Turks are actually showing more gumption than the Obama administration. You know, the notion that we're talking to the Russians at some level, and they've certainly hushed it up since John Kerry talked about deconfliction, but the notion that we're talking to the Russians about their being, in effect, in airspace we've controlled for close to half a century comes perilously close to legitimizing that Russian presence.
Legitimizing it is one thing, John. The fact is we don't have the wherewithal, the military power in the region to reverse what has been another Putin foray and what it looks to be a further engagement in a region that it's been excluded from for decades.
Yeah, well, you're asking me the question that you frequently ask that's impossible to answer, which is what should we do under a president?
Well, you wouldn't want an easy question, John.
But what will we do with a president who's not competent to be president in the national security area? And in fact, the biggest breakdown, of course, came when our deterrence broke down, and Putin thought he could get away with putting an air base in there to begin with. And it represents a significant shift in the balance of power in the Middle East. It's caused our friends enormous heartburn, and it's given our opponents a big lift, no doubt about it.
The violence that now grips Israel, this is getting worse, it seems, by the day. The arson at the tomb of Joseph today, its desecration. Where are we headed, and why, in your judgment, would anyone representing the U.S. government say both sides have terrorists, as former Admiral John Kirby at the State Department said? I mean, I was stunned by that, and very few people are taking note of it.
Yeah, look, this is the worst form of moral equivalence. I think Barack Obama is determined by the end of his administration to recognize a Palestinian state. I want to be careful how I say this, but I think comments like Kirby's, comments like Secretary of State Kerry has made about the consequences of Israeli settlements provoking the violence, and indeed comments by the president himself. Which, by the way, is
straightforwardly not true. It's unrelated.
Absolutely. But equating Netanyahu and Abbas, as he did at his press conference today, I think these kinds of comments by the top leadership of the United States are encouraging the violence. I think that it's postulating a reward for the violence, and that reward is the recognition of the Palestinian state.
And we should not ignore the president today saying to Prime Minister Netanyahu he should tamp down his rhetoric, as he put it. I mean, this is a shift that is visible, palpable to every American to hear our president speak so of our longest ally in the Middle East, that is Israel. It's disconcerting, it's deeply troubling, and there has to be a reaction of some sort.
Well, I wouldn't count on that, Lou. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and in normal times you'd expect it. But let's face it, the president of the United States, by signing this nuclear deal with Iran, has kneecapped Israel. and he's suffered no domestic American political consequences for it. I think he believes he can do almost anything at this point.
I think I have to defer to your judgment. I think you're, you know, I have to say, I think you're exactly right, and I was exactly
I'll take it
wrong.
when I can get it.
Yes, sir. Well, you're quite often in that position, so thanks so much. Appreciate it.